Thank you, sir. I'm grateful to IDSA for the invitation. Now, where Dr. Nambiar left, and I start from there, and I only restrict myself on the connectivity projects, because if you recall, the Secretary is today's keynote address. He suggested some kind of recommendations. So before we come to the recommendation stage, let me give you a recap of the major milestone we crossed from 1992. If we take its the beginning, low-cost policy, then we last year we had an Act-East policy, and in this whole 22 years period, we crossed sectoral dialogue partnerships to forming the Eminent Persons Group, Commemorative Summit, FTA, etc., etc. But all I found, and also in the literature, that connectivity is coming to the central. We recall the Eminent Persons Group report in 2012, and the vision statement followed on the commemorative summit. Two things clearly and very explicitly emerging, which is one is the software kind of things, RCEP, single window in the customs, which would lead a kind of a paperless trade. These could be kind of global initiatives by each and every countries in ASEAN 10 and also in India. This paperless trade is basically to come to dealing your trade documentation on your palm through the mobile phone and highly digitized. We don't go back to the documentations. And second one is which is hardware. Several projects the government of India initiated, trilateral highway, and that Mekong India Economic Corridor similar trade. So these two came out very explicitly in the Eminent Persons Group report, which was chaired by Honorable Chairpersons Ambassador Shyamsaran. And we have been following the strategic partnerships milestones that's given in the report, working on that. At ASEAN-India Center, we have taken several projects on maritime connectivity, on air transportation. Some are already published, some are coming up. We are in constant touch with the several Government of India agencies for implementations and policy advocacies. Then any kind of regional planning has to be linked with properly with the national connectivity that India has been implementing, that like Delhi-Mumbai Industrial Corridor, dedicated freight corridor, Mumbai-Chennai, the Mumbai-Bangalore-Chennai corridor, so on and so forth. And two axes very clearly was intermodal and multimodal type that is coming up in the Northeast. Sometimes you move in the cargo by road, then move into the rail, or you move in the by road, then again you change the mode by inland water transportation or a COS. And southern India, which is the Mekong India Economic Corridor, which is basically a multimodal type. So these are broad overall structure of the connectivity that's coming up. And with ASEAN and India engagement, we found many connectivity related agendas getting space. For example, in the RCEP, good space is now being looked into in the trade facilitation. And separately, trade facilitation agreement is there in the Bali agreement. And but we need to do what suggestions it to interoperability linkage. Indian EDI systems, ASEAN single window system, they have to be hooked, they have to be looked. Because signatures signed by the customs officials electronically by India and ASEAN, still they insist for the print copy. So there are some issues on the trade facilitations. Trilateral transit transport agreement, which is being negotiated. We expect that to be completed before trilateral highway comes in. ASEAN-India Maritime Transport Agreement, which is also being negotiated this year. ASEAN is coming up with single ocean market, single shipping market, if to be linked with our business, our trade. So you also need to have a link with that common market that's coming up in ASEAN in air, also in the shipping. And overland connectivity, some projects like trilateral highway, extension of the trilateral highway to Mekong subregions, railway link, Mekong India Economic Corridor, Situway, Industrial Park, and Kaladan. So some of the projects we have specifically dealt. Ambassador Sheshadri, who's our vice chairman, he has done very good project, and the project report is also available. I mean, he was talking about how to move from economic corridor, move into economic corridor, development corridor from a standard road or transport corridor. On the energy, ASEAN is an important source of crude oil and LNG. Last year, we started importing LNG from Brunei. Uh, ASEAN also is important destinations for India's exports of petroleum products. Many Indian companies are very active in ASEAN countries, for example, in Vietnam for a pretty long time, and in Myanmar, ONGC, OVL, GAIL, Acer India, Jubilant Oil and Gas. India is also extending a line of letter of credit to ASEAN countries for power transmission. Myanmar is a great example. We are also talking about within India, Myanmar, Bangladesh gas pipeline to revive, renegotiate. And ASEAN gas pipeline projects, power transmission line, India has to look into and also link our own transmission and gas pipeline, which is coming with ASEAN. And also ASEAN-India Renewable Energy Cooperation, there are scopes and opportunities. What we see the new developments, the departure, which is in 2012, which is coming up on the production networks, a value chain, regional value chain, or ASEAN-India jointly linking with the global value chains, investment in third countries. So those kind of a new innovative projects we are talking about, and connectivity and trade facilitation, both software side and the hardware. Now, before we do any in linking with ASEAN and something like the 200 billion is our trade potential by 2020. 2015 is the target is 100 billion, but still fall short by 20 billion. So 2020 is the deadline 200 billion, which is just double, which is a big task. And we've seen this. It is unilaterally happening the trade in parts and components. 2012 data and 2011 data, these are estimated figures by country with ASEAN plus 3. Many cases, India's exports to ASEAN countries and India's imports from ASEAN countries in the parts and components have increased. Parts and components means Nokia factory, which is presently closed down in the Prabir. Any mobile phone you picked up in Indonesia, it is basically produced by more Nokia here. Parts and components move from Philippines, from China mainland. So this kind of trade in high value items, high value intermediate goods have also increased. And we actually looked at from the trade statistics. So this change, which is a bit slow at present, there needs a sophistication of transportation infrastructure, the chairperson said in his opening speech in the beginning very correctly. And IDSA Professor Kimura's his second arm means move into the agglomerations of if we have high infrastructure, if we improve the service links, movement of goods, intermediate products between countries, then there could be industrial agglomerations in different parts. So we see this Myanmar, which is increasingly getting the GSP benefits. So global GSP benefits, United States of America, European Union, giving it to the Myanmar to produce apparel products. Malaysians are coming for investment, Indians are going. So hopefully this is a big opportunity coming near to the next to the India, and Indian companies who are the best fitted to supply and set up and the manufacturing basis. So, and that has a link with the Northeast India. And we did a survey the last 2 years. 6 companies which came out just looked into the Myanmar market in processed food, agriculture, and then timber, and also in the garments in Manipur, plus services sectors. There is a hospital in Manipur, I'm not going to name it, many people you know that, 900-bed hospital, 90% are reserved for the Myanmar patients from Sagain states, from Chin states coming to. And Minister of External Affairs is very kind to give on-arrival visas as long they arrive on the border for the treatment, mainly in a very complicated health disease. They don't need to come to Delhi or Bombay or Chennai. It is done at Imphal cities. So these kind of services into tourism and education, transportations are happening. And sometimes in services sector is very faster. But there are plenty of barriers, and here is the hard works. These are the non-tariff measures which Dr. Nambiar spoke about. Infrastructure inadequacy is still there. That will be. We need to improve it. Lack of trade facilitation, absence of regional transit, border infrastructure, integrated checkpost in ICP is more is planned, Dawki is in plan. Somehow it's not coming up the way we need. Inconsistent and difficult border crossing formalities and procedures between the countries, restrictive visa regimes. We offer 8 countries on arrival visas, but Indians are not given the on-arrival visas as well in ASEAN except Thailand or Myanmar. And different standard of vehicles and drivers across countries, restrictions of entry of the motor vehicle. These are the key barriers. We need to remove these barriers. It will take time, but as fast we do it, production links between the countries will be moving very fast. And I see there's a sea changes coming up. Prime Minister's speech in 12 ASEAN-India Summit in 12 November. I marked in the red special purpose vehicle company, which is basically emanated from RIS work, which is 12th May. Last year we did a cross-border connectivity projects, the trilateral of India, US, Japan on ASEAN on connectivity that has come out from there. And some of the things I already discussed in the morning, no need to repeat, but these are the new kind of connectivity projects. And then the Act East policy and the difference, because this is the point comes up, what is difference with Look East and Act East. The Prime Minister's speech is actually giving some hints to it. For example, we see the greater degree of action and dynamism, particularly India and ASEAN, cross-border production networks, more business dimensions with the greater involvement of SMEs. We have a division in the MEA, it's called Border Connectivity Divisions. We have a division in the MEA called States Divisions. So these are new ideas and new experiments are going on. Implementation of specific projects, Kaladan projects, port completed, dredging, inland transportations on the river Kaladan and upstream coming up, and which is very clear that it is the ASEAN centrality on the Act East policies. Now, last slide is basically what kind of connectivity projects that we are implementing. Kaladan multimodal transit, integrated checkpost at the Moret, trilateral highway. There are gaps, which is the responsibility also of the Myanmar government to complete. Link it with Monia with Yargi with Monia with Yargi inside Myanmar, and Rithidim Road, another access to the Mizoram state to the trilateral highway. Imphal Mandalay bus and air service. Air World, the domestic airlines taken over by the Japanese, likely to start an airlines from Mandalay to Imphal. Imphal is already announced an international airport. Delhi Hanoi railway link, which is the old India's project on initiated. Maybe we need to look at that. Mekong India Economic Corridor, Situate Industrial Park, Port, IWT, and some of the other 4 projects which are basically on pipeline, like ASEAN-India Open Sky in the cargo traffic, ASEAN-India Ocean Shipping Network, gas and oil pipeline, and ICT. Area indicated and very correctly I see what kind of a notes and the links would be. And we think this could be proper presentations linking with emerging connectivity in the regions. And on the economic corridor, what would be the architectures within industrial clusters like automobile, textile, garment clusters, IT and ITES, 6 corridors which are either development corridor or super expressway or economic corridor. They are in the regions we have highlighted. So these are taken from the ADB, this slide. So many connectivity things are happening, not just with ASEAN-India, and also with ADB and other organizations. The new one, which I think which will be a stumbling block to move towards the east, is which is a JICA did a study in March 2014. This frictionless cross-border movement to go to happen, we need a transit arrangement with Bangladesh. If it is not allowed, then you always have to move the long way, the chicken's name. So this is very crucial to maritime connectivity. Of course, it will emerge and it is happening. But overland, we need to have a transit link with Nepal, Bhutan, Bangladesh, and India 4 together. And correctly, I found the Ministry of External Affairs. The last month, they did a BBIN great conference, and all the transport ministers agreed to sign the motor vehicles agreement. Recommendations on the northeast side. These are the recommendations. We have been doing a constant consultation with the different government of India agencies, state governments, think tanks, regional organizations like NEC. From there, I presented the 14 recommendations, like a completion of the Guwahati-Shillong-Silchar Highway. Presently, ILFS Indian company redeveloping Guwahati to Shillong. It takes about 4 to 5 hours. Very bad road, and it washed away by every day. Every year you have a rainy seasons. So they are completely renovating it. So once it is done, Guwahati to Shillong, from Guwahati airport to Shillong will be within 2 hours. And then Silchar to Imphal to More. This redevelopment is going on. Very bad from Silchar to Imphal. If you have traveled by road, you must have seen it. And this is redevelopment is done with an ADB projects. Link Silchar by 4-lane road and broad gauge railway line by 2015. Presently, the gauge conversion is going on. Silchar is already connected by railway line, and Silchar is the northeastern part. It is in the Assam state. And Government of India is planning to link this highway beyond the major periphery to the district headquarters by 2018, and all state capitals to be connected by the broad gauge. Nahar Lagoon and one in Arunachal Pradesh now linked with India and Delhi by railway express broad gauge railway systems. And by 2020, Government of India is thinking state capitals should be linked with broad gauge railway line. National railway projects, because of the delay in the funding. So we need some kind of binding arrangements for the completion of the railway line. So that Imphal railway line, which is 2018, it reached to the railway line, it reached to the Imphal. Presently, it is almost 40 kilometers, 36 kilometers behind Imphal, and huge constructions. You will be surprised to know that the tallest railway bridge will not be in the Switzerland. It will be in the Imphal, near to the Imphal. This kind of Indian railway is doing marvelous activities. And by 2018, I'm sure it will be reaching Imphal. Link with, then the responsibility is to link with Imphal, then More and the Calais. From Calais to Yangon, we have a railway service Delhi. So linking with the Calais to Imphal, we may need another kind resources, huge resources. And priority should be the special accelerated road development projects for Northeast ASARDP, any phase 4. Phase B should be given. Presently, phase A successfully implemented. Arunachal Pradesh, you go, or in the Northeast, all the district headquarters up to, you will get a fantastic road. States shall be provided with sufficient funds and maintenance of the rehabilitations. Roads are built by the Government of India agency called National Highway Authority of India. Maintenance belongs to the state government, the Public Works Department. But Public Works Department, state doesn't have that kind of a capacity and sufficient resources. So we suggest that they have to be, improved at the level of National Highway Authority of India. The northeastern part of India is linked to with more with the air. You go to Tier 2 airlines, Tier 2 airports in Northeast, they are connected Delhi by Bombay, Delhi, Calcutta. So we think there should be regional aircraft, regional helicopter services to the Northeast. That should be. There are some funding issues. Northeastern Council, they would like to have a regional airlines, but funding issues that stop them. Guwahati should be linked to the air connectivity. Presently, Druk Air twice in a week they connect Guwahati with Bangkok. But if we given a relaxed fifth freedom right and link it to the Buddhist circuits, small airlines like Bangkok Airways or Tiger Airlines, they can easily fly to, or Air Asia to come to Guwahati or Imphal. And completion of SEZs, industrial park, food parks at the outskirts of Imphal city, townships at Imphal or at the More. Those are the new projects initiated by the government, state government. We should look for the completions. Border infrastructures also is very required, like ICP in More or Dauki, more border huts. Yes, sir. The last slide, which is that side was on the connectivity on the Northeast. On the cross border, the recommendation would be to complete the trilateral highway and complete the technical feasibility of the extension of the trilateral highway to CLMB. Completion of the trilateral transit agreement, Kaladan project completion 2016. So the deadline maybe we look at some mega port in the eastern seaboard that is coming up as a demand for linking with the maritime links. Imphal, More and Calais railway line, development of More Township Industrial Park. There was a requirement from Sagaing chief ministers to ask to provide 5 megawatt of power to Tamu, which is the other side of the More. Can we supply the 5 megawatt because Tamu and up to that side, they don't have adequate power supply. India, Myanmar, Bangladesh gas pipeline, we may need to rework, start thinking about it. Agricultural supply chain for processed food, rice, those are coming up. So maybe we need to encourage link with Myanmar. On arrival visa presently given to the Myanmar nationals, sort of an informal arrangements. Why not we give it informal basis when they arrive on health and education ground and vice versa. State level cooperations, India, Myanmar, very on the agricultural, food supply, disaster management, very good. Simplification of the trade and the border transaction procedures, very much required. And all along, it should be with the capacity development. Those people who are involved in the trade at the border, they don't have adequate capacity to deal with the modern trade procedures or trade transactions arrangements. So because the border trade at the border is done on the barter systems, on the headload basis. Modern border arrangements with the Myanmar has not yet come. So those for to come adopt a new border systems, trading system, we need a capacity building. FICI, CII, they have been doing regular capacity building for the trade custom house agents. Maybe we should do something for the customs people at the Northeast. Thank you very much.